I know we're in the final stretch with 2 weeks to close, but we are still in the opening. I mean, most states have early voting, and as you mentioned, Vice President Kamala Harris is performing better than Trump right now. Historically, Democrats perform better than Republicans when it comes to early voting. So what type of picture is early voting painting now for the 2024 election? Is it foreshadowing any trend or turnout theme that we're going to see on November 5th?
Great question. So early voting at this stage is roughly half of what it was in 2020. Now, that was an unusual election because it was right at the height of the pandemic, and so there was a lot more early ballots cast and mailed in than there are currently today. Also, if you look at it less in terms of who has already cast their ballots, but who is planning to vote early, that 45% that is planning to vote early, compared to that 48% who will vote the day of the election, Harris only has about a 10 points advantage, 10 to 12 points advantage, depending on how you look at it, with those voters that plan to vote early. It's an advantage, but it's much less than Biden's advantage with early voters in 2020. Biden had roughly double that advantage with early voters in 2020. So while the early vote is breaking Democratic and you know it's favoring Democrats, I would say it's still lagging 2020, and that indicator, will probably worry the Harris campaign and the Democratic Party, and also it means that this election will break late, and it has to be fought up to the last hour and the last minute by both of the campaigns.
It feels like a lifetime ago, but it was actually just a week ago you and I talked, and you said that Vice President Kamala Harris has the momentum while Trump has the advantage. Now when we're looking at these numbers, Trump is slightly taking the lead in this national poll. It's still obviously very close. It's still within a margin of error. He's taking the lead when it comes to battleground voters. Do you think that Trump now has the momentum as well?
It's yet to be seen, but I think that in the next get together, we'll have trended data, and if this swing in the polls, this 3 point swing from when we compare it to earlier this month in Trump's favor, if it sustains and he's winning the national vote, then you would expect him to win the battleground states and the election. If it keeps oscillating back and forth and it's really tied, then it's a razor thin election. It's clear though that Harris is losing some of that early steam, some of that momentum that propelled her up until now. And what that means is that you have to redouble your presence with voters, and you have to close that gap in terms of media appearances, where I believe the Trump-Vance campaign has had over 80 media appearances, and the Harris-Walz campaign has had less than half of that, or maybe even about a third of that. And so there's enough voters that are still yet to make up their mind out there that that gap can be closed, but it requires proactive engagements with voters and making the